Hello, this is Eric Stromberg with Stromberg's Chicks and Game Birds. Today we are going to be talking about automatic watering. Specifically, we're going to be talking about a product that we sell called drink sticks. A drink stick, we have two different versions of them. We have one with trigger cups. We do have one with nipples as well. We also don't have a drink stick with this, but you can order these separately. These are float valve cups. The difference between these two cups, these use a trigger, so the birds have to trigger the valve to fill the cup. These are always full. These work best for baby chicks. Some people just prefer a bowl that is always full. Some people prefer a trigger method. So what are we going to be hooking up today? We're going to be hooking up the nipples for my birds. I prefer the nipples, just been using them for a long time. I've always liked them. The biggest difference between the nipples and the cups is the height that you're going to want to set them up at. The nipples, you're going to want to set them up so the birds are looking up and hitting the nipple. The cups you're going to want to set up at about back level so the birds can reach in. Now let's talk about how we're going to set this up. There's a couple of different ways that you can set up your system. So I am going to be going with just setting it up with a garden hose. However, if you don't have a continuous water source, you can use a bucket. And so you just use a 5-gallon bucket. You order this, it's the through bucket fitting. All it is a fitting that you drill with a 1/2-inch drill bit. Attach it. I use a little bit of silicone, and then you would attach it as though it was the pressure reducing valve. You control the pressure on a bucket system by lifting the bucket up or down. You got to think like a water tower. So if it's really high, the pressure is going to be high. If it's really low, the pressure is going to be low. So the biggest problem with automatic watering systems and using a garden hose is that this is going to be running at 45 psi. These valves will only work at around 3 to 5 psi. So what we do to compensate for that is we use what's called a pressure reducing valve. So this is a pressure reducing valve, and you can see it's got a dial that tells us where the psi is at. What we're going to do is we're just going to hook it up here to our hose, get it nice and tight, and then we're going to hook it into our drink stick. And like I said, we're going to be using nipples today. So this is a 1/4-inch hose. This is a 1/4-inch fitting. I'm just going to slide this over the 1/4-inch fitting. I like to use a zip tie on any fitting just to make sure it's nice and tight. And we're just going to clip this off to get it out of the way. And now this is hooked into our drink stick. So let's talk about a couple of features of the drink stick. So it's going to run in through here. This turns off your drink stick. So if you have a faulty valve or nipple, you can replace it. You can also drain it. We'll go over draining your drink stick at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and turn on the water. Let's see what the pressure's at. So you can hear the line has air in it. So we're getting rid of the air right now. Since I'm running off a yard hydrant, there's going to be quite a bit of air in there. So you can see how high that pressure is. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our pressure now. So how high do you want your pressure? Well, right now it looks like it's at 12 psi. So really what you're doing is you're looking at this. So obviously you don't want your chicken to hit this and get splashed in the face. They're not going to like that. They're not going to be able to drink the water then. So all you do is you just take a coin or a screwdriver and go lefty-loosey to reduce that pressure. You do have to let the pressure run out a little bit to see where it's actually at. So now it looks like we are a little too low. It's saying below 3. So this is kind of like Goldilocks. We want it just right. increasing the pressure. Okay, so that's just about perfect. Maybe a little bit higher. And truly what the judge of this is gonna be is your bird's behavior. Are they drinking out of it? Is it spraying them in the face? Are they getting worried? What they're gonna do is they're gonna come up and they're just gonna, it still seems a little high to me, so I would probably reduce that a little bit. Like I say, you have to play with this a little bit when you first set it up. Once you get it set up, you won't have to worry about it. See, that's about where I want it at. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the drain of the drink stick. So any watering system that you have, if it's hooked up to your hose, is gonna have a certain amount of mineral buildup. There can be a lot of buildup in these. It can drain, it can clog your nipples. It can do a lot of different things. So every now and then we're gonna wanna drain it. And also you're gonna wanna drain it in the wintertime. So what we would do is you take this, you turn off the system, and you open up the drain. And I do have pliers here. I'm gonna open this up, just drain the water out. That's gonna drain out anything that's not good in there. Open this system up. And then I'm gonna close this. Put this back on. I did raise the pressure a bit, so I'm gonna reduce my pressure again. Now you've got your pressure right, you've seen how to drain it. Let's talk about expanding your drink stick. So each of these pressure reducing valves can accommodate up to 200 of these nipple valves. So one nice feature of the drink stick is to expand them. All you do is you take another drink stick and you just screw it on. We also sell spacers, and these are kind of nice if your birds are boxing out other birds, things like that. You can put this on, and all it does is it provides a little space between two sets. So it gives your birds a little bit more room in between so the dominant birds can't box out the younger birds. And you would just put this cap on here and you're good to go. So let's talk about how we're actually going to set up our drink stick. So what I've got here are just two electric fencing standoff insulators. And obviously I'm not gonna put this at this height, but this is just an example here. And I'm gonna take my drink stick. Oh, which one's the working one here? Okay, it's this one. And we're just going to zip tie it onto this. And this is just gonna give us a little bit of space away from the fence. You wouldn't necessarily have to do that with the cups, but you do with the nipples. You wanna give them enough space so they can get at them. And then we'll just, once again, for the nipples, you're gonna put it at a little bit above eye level. And for the cups, you're gonna put it right at the back level of the chicken. Now, from what you can see from my flock here, you can see that I have both bantams and standards. So what does that mean? That means bantams are like half-size chickens, standards are standard-sized chickens. One size of chicken is taller than the other, which presents a problem because neither their backs or their heads are gonna be at the same spot. So what I'm going to do to set this up is I'm just gonna take a couple of bricks and put it at the end of one side. The other thing that you can do to set it up is you can see my chicken coop is at a little bit of or my chicken run is a little bit of a slant. If I use the spacer and I just set it up vertically, one side's gonna be automatically lower than the other. So a couple of different options, but just things you do wanna think about as being a chicken keeper. You wanna make sure those bantams have the same access to water as the standard. And how do you know if you have enough nipples for your birds, well, once again, that's going to be, you want to watch your birds. So you want to make sure, you know, for one, they're all being able to rotate through, get water. Generally, the rule of thumb is one nipple for every 7 to 10 birds. However, if you notice that, like, let's say the bantams are being boxed out by the standard size birds because of their pecking order, hey, maybe you want to add an extra drink stick and a spacer to give them more room to get at that water. So just as like a standard waterer, you always want to make sure all birds are getting equal access. If that means you have to set up 2, that means you got to set up 2.